In what era were the greatest love songs written?
The pre-Cambrian era.
Oh.
I don't know. I mean, all my favorite songs seem to have happened in the 60s and 70s. But I like some of the ones from the 80s and the 90s. I don't really like any songs from the past 10 years. But I would say from 1964 to 2000.
All right.
63 maybe.
When I was growing up, I listened to the classic rock station because they seemed to play the greatest songs about love. Cheap Trick and Nazareth being two of the greatest purveyors. So I guess my question is what is it about classic rock that is so appealing to the lonely 13-year-old me?
I'm glad you asked. I don't know. I mean, when I was in the band The Long Winters, we drove around the country and discovered that the only radio stations worth listening to for more than 30 seconds were oldies and classic rock stations. And that seems like it's pretty true. I mean, not that that's the only music worth listening to, but that sort of collective experience that you get from the radio, which is, on the wane culturally, it is best exemplified by that period when those songs were sort of written sort of to be heard by a lot of people. But also the 70s were the time when narcissism really reached its full flower culturally, and love songs are often, songs about how I feel about you. And I think anyone can tell you that when someone tells you all about how they feel about you, the burden is really on the listener.
I just like those classic rock songs. They're really good. I can't listen to KEXP that much because it's so sensitive, But then when you put on the classic rock station, you're like, yeah, I know. And Cheap Trick, they always do exactly what you wanted them to, and it's just so satisfying,
I think they're playing at the Emerald.
They are playing at the Emerald Queen.
$40 is the cheapest ticket.
Well,
Expensive Trick, I'd say.
Rim shot. There's one thing that connects Nazareth and Cheap Trick and Billy Bragg is that there is no cynicism in any of those songs, and I don't think
Love
that
Hurts is a pretty cynical statement.
Do you think that's a cynical statement?
Oh my God, yes.
Well, yeah. But
listen to the way it's sung.
Not cynical.
It's all in the way it's sung.
Right.
It's totally tongue-in-cheek.
I think when they do it, it is. But I heard. I think Erin and Rick singing it together was really lovely. I heard Gillian Welch and Dave Rawlings sing it at this club in LA, and it was like, it was moderately heartbreaking. It was heart-touching. It was like it felt real because they themselves don't sort of do, they would only do it if they could at least sound like they meant it. And I don't know. I don't know that song super well, but I always thought it did feel sort of tongue-in-cheek because it's so wrenching. And I also feel like the whole thing about intimate exploration that is intended to be shared in an arena, it's sort of that sort of runs aground a little bit. But Billy Bragg, no cynicism there. Cheap Trick, pre-cynical.
Do you think that any song that has to do with love can be sung in both a cynical manner and a heartfelt manner?
Well, I think the great question about Elvis Costello's version of What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding versus Nick Lowe's version of it, the original Brinsley Schwartz version. The idea was that Elvis's version is just really in quotes, and he's really emoting, and it's really fake. But as time has worn on, obviously that's the definitive version of the song, and when you hear it, it really is that's an anthem, and it's such a great song. It's such a perfect song that whether you can say that somebody means it when they're singing it or not, I think it doesn't matter as long as you have some relationship with it.
I think Yeah, I mean, not to get too serious about it, but I mean, there's some like grain of truth in all the songs that I like, and it can be like a cheesy Nazareth song, which is kind of cheesy, but it feels really real to me, you know? And I'm not trying to be like, this is so sad, love really does hurt, you guys, you know? But I mean, it feels really honest to me, and I think that's always what I'm striving for when I'm playing music, whether it's instrumental or whether there's lyrics. That you're not lying, you know, and so it doesn't feel like a joke to me, but it doesn't feel like super earnest either, because that's bad as well. But and I like that Billy Joel song, you know. I was like, oh, that's actually really, I think it's a really honest song. You can kind of, I mean, you guys know what I mean.
Strip away the Billy Joel from it.
Right. As long as
it's true. It's true. Like you can't. It's hard to have an unmediated Billy Joel experience.
Yeah, certain songs.
You with me?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up playing classical music, and I didn't hear a lot of these songs until way later. Like, so I feel like I'm kind of a 15-year-old boy, like, holy cow, Matahupo, who knew, you know? And I'm like 35, it's so amazing. So I don't really have a ton of the nostalgia filter that I'm.
Sean, what were you thinking as a 15-year-old boy?
Just wishing I could meet a 15-year-old boy like Erin.
Very comfortable.
Moving on. So what is it about the marimba that is so appealing to you? Why is it your instrument?
Well, it's fun to play. And there's just something about the overtones, especially the low notes, that, you know, it's like really hearing a really loud guitar band. You know, I'm just like, I'm really into kind of like drone music, really, really loud, like 3 chords that just goes on for a long time. And there's something about the vibrations of that just, I really respond to. And it's fun. I mean, everybody wants to like pick up mallets and hit that thing, you know? So it's fun to play.
But I don't encourage anyone to do that.
Yeah.
Hey, Erin, I have a question for you. I was so impressed that you played that entire suite without music. Do you generally read music for the classical chamber pieces that you perform, or do you just have it all?
I don't play that much, like, reading from a score anymore. But it's hard for me to, like, it looks so different on the page than it does, like, on the marimba, you know? Like, if you look at a line and it's going up, and you might have to, like, actually you're thinking about going down, or, you know, I'm thinking about, like, it's really, like, a lot of choreography. So when I see it on the page, it's really, you know, you're like this and that and like that and like that. So it's way easier for me to just, like, learn it and memorize it and then play it on marimba.
Do you learn on piano first, or by hearing, or how do you?
What I started to do is learn it without playing it at all, which is, I wish I would have thought of that before, that your brain can actually help you learn to play music. That, yeah, like, not sight reading it because you learn weird habits and then it takes, like, you know, months to unlearn them. So I started just learning it with looking at the music and then memorizing it and then playing it on
Complex music makes me go off in a world that, like, has nothing to do with the piece of music. I just kind of am thinking, I become lost in thought, or lost maybe in a feeling of some kind, possibly a reverie at best. But, like, music I like, the music I make, is incredibly simple, almost offensively simple to a classical musician. But that is the stuff I not only like, but I think is, like, I mean, you know, it was a joke, but when she was talking about how much the cello suites meant to me, I was thinking, you know, I feel that way about Listen to What the Man Said by Paul McCartney. That's perfect music.